trying to find the memo.
Councillors, if I could ask you to take your seats, please. Thank you. And could I ask councillors and visitors to remember to switch your electronic devices to silent. Welcome everybody. I'd also like to welcome those viewers who are watching the meeting via the live stream at home. And a special welcome to our customer experience team who are sitting with us tonight. If I could now ask you all to please be upstanding. Deputy Mayor Migdale, could you read out the opening prayer?
Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Councillor Thornton, could you please read out the acknowledgement of country?
On behalf of councillors, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respects for elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of this meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the council being received. Brings us to item 1, the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 13th of August 2024 open at 6:31 p.m. Item 2, apologies, I have nil. 3, approved leave of absence. I have one for myself, granted a leave of absence for the period 15th of August to 15th of September 24 inclusive. Item 4, disclosure of interest. There were no disclosures from the Audit Committee meeting held 5th of August. There were 3 disclosures from the Committee and Resource Committee meeting held on the 6th of August, which are listed in tonight's agenda and displayed on the screen behind me. Councillors, are there any other disclosures for this evening? Councillor Reid? If you're not sure, we can come back when the items... Okay. Item 5, petitions. I have nil. Councillors, are there a mover and a... Oh, sorry. Are there any unverified petitions this evening? No, then we don't need a mover and a seconder. And I'll go to 6, responses from previous questions from members of the public taken on notice, and those responses from the last council meeting were published in the minutes of that meeting, which brings us to item 7, public question time. I'll start with you, Tad Krisiak. If you'd like to come forward, please. Thank you. And if you just turn the bottom right-hand corner, turn it on, great. And just your name and suburb to start, and then your question, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Tad Krisiak from the organisation Sandbag, Seniors and Disabilities Best Access Group, and I live in Mount Hawthorn. So I've sent the questions through, and I also sent an email which had more or less a lot of the substance of it to various councillors. So question 1, it's a multi-part question. Given that the impetus for the Merredin Green Street Tyler Island extension was on May 2024, was the May 2024 fatality, and the Main Roads review of that intersection, and that an overwhelming majority of local residents are against this proposed island, that the roundabout has not been built yet, and that's at Green Street and Scarborough Beach Road, and that the island will remove right turns into Green Street and access to Merredin Street. Are councillors aware that A, significant amounts of unnecessary local road movement such as increased use of Stoneham Street will be created, giving rise to other and or extra potential points of conflict? B, the unfortunate death of the elderly man on his mobility scooter is unrelated to the lack of an island at the intersection, and it is also unknown whether the poor gentleman may have gone in front of the car that led to his demise. C, if and until the roundabout is built, the median strip will considerably and unnecessarily impede traffic flow to and or from Tyler and Waterloo Streets. And D, 2 simple raised pedestrian crossings on either side of Merredin Green Tyler and or a signalled pedestrian crossing would not only make the intersection disability friendly, but would act to slow Green Street traffic coming down the hill as it nears the Scarborough Beach Road intersection, thereby improving overall safety in the area.
Thank you for that question. I'll get Mr Guillemot to just provide a response. Look, a few of those things are acknowledged in the report in terms of especially the unfortunate death and how that occurred. And it is an item on the agenda this evening, but I'll get Mr Guillemot just to provide a few comments.
Thank you. Through the chair, there's obviously a number of components to that question. In regard to the redistribution of traffic, the city's turning counts indicate that the volume of traffic that would be distributed represents around 2 additional vehicles per minute in the peak hour. In reality, this volume would be distributed amongst a number of roads and intersections. However, even if we assume that in the worst case scenario that traffic is distributed entirely to Stoneham Street, this road is operating well within its practical design capacity as a local distributor road and can accommodate the additional traffic flows. And the safety record at that intersection is much lower on account that it's a 3-way intersection. In terms of the death of the elderly gentleman, the fatality, city's always acknowledged that fatal crash was not the result of deficiencies in the infrastructure, but the proposal to do something at this intersection has come about because of the Main Roads investigation. In regard to the median strip, we consider that would greatly assist to reduce the frequency and severity of crashes at that intersection. And the final point relating to the raised pedestrian crossings, that will certainly have some impact, but we don't believe it will reduce the frequency and the severity of right-hand crashes at that intersection.
Thank you. Your next question, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Question 2. Given that the council definition of a black spot is at least 5 accidents in 5 years, and Tyler Street has had 12 accidents in the past 5 years, is the council, to be consistent, going to put islands or other road treatments in the following black spot locations as well? And I've provided the statistics to the various councillors and the Mayor, and Deputy Mayor, of course. Green Street with Stoneham or Edinburgh. B, Main Street with Baden or Powell or McDonald or Roberts or Cape. And C, Scarborough intersecting with Donovan or Axonite. And that crash statistics tend to show that realistically a certain overall rate of crashes occurs regardless of road network structure.
Thank you. Mr Guillemot.
Through the chair, the simple answer is no, the city's not proposing to install a traffic island at all black spot intersections. That's not an automatic treatment. Local government officers investigate many aspects and issues when determining an appropriate and feasible treatment, including the type of crashes, the movement of vehicles, the number of lanes, median widths, and other sort of similar factors. That being said, the median island treatment remains a valid method of addressing an intersection where there is effectively no median and there's right angle crashes that are prominent, and other options such as signals and roundabouts aren't appropriate or feasible.
Thank you. And your third question, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 3. How many crashes at Merredin Green Street Tyler intersection were caused as a result of a medical episode or from bad driver behaviour or some other driver activity that is usually endemic to some that live around there and or use the intersection, and therefore that this would tend to show that this intersection is not inherently in itself a bad or problematic design?
Thank you. Mr Guillemot. Don't know how to go with that one.
Through the chair, the crash data provided by Main Roads doesn't specifically assign blame, or it doesn't provide any indication of medical, issues on the part of the drivers. All it does is provide an indication of where the vehicle is coming from, where it's going, time of day, pavement condition, those kinds of things. There is an element of human behaviour that contributes to all crashes. As you've said, regardless of any treatment, there's always going to be a human element, but that shouldn't prevent local governments being able to implement measures where they're considered justified and necessary.
Thank you for those questions, and I can confirm councillors all received your email too and have read it, so thank you. And I'll ask Mr Hadley if you'd like to come forward and ask your questions. And you just have to turn that back on for me, please. Yep. And your name and suburb.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. How much did the 7x4 metre banner advertising the trackless tram trial cost? And where is this banner now?
Thank you for that question, and we'll respond to you in writing, Mr Hadley.
I'll be pleased to receive that. Thank you. Second question. What was the cost of hire of the hotel premises to hold the trackless tram trial symposium? Also the cost of catering?
Thank you. We can respond to you in writing with that one, Mr Hadley.
Thank you. This is too good to be true. Mind, we've only been asking since, what, August 23, was it? Or before that? I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, question 3. How many city staff have been involved in this trackless tram project, trial and symposium? And how much overtime has been incurred? How many man-hours involved and total staff costs?
Thank you for that question. We'll endeavour to respond to you in writing. I can't imagine, some of it would have to be an estimate, but I'm sure we can get you something, Mr Hadley.
Yes, you did promise us about the 10th of June, if I recollect, but if you'd like to get the information out, it would be very handy. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mr Hadley. And that's the end of public question time for this evening. So we'll move on to item 8, applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any requests of leave of absence this evening? No requests. Item 9, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I have a mover and a seconder to accept the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on 30th of July? Move Councillor Hatton, seconded Councillor Kristovich. And just a show of hands for the minutes. Thanks, councillors. That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 10, announcements by the presiding member. I'll defer to Deputy Mayor Migdal to start off if you'd like to do some announcements, and then I've got one.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On Friday the 2nd of August 2024, I, along with Mayor Mark Irwin, councillors and the Chief Executive Officer, Steven Rodich, attended Walga's Local Government Awards held at Winthrop Hall at the University of WA. The event included speeches from Walga President Karen Chappell, AM, JP, and Local Government Minister, the Honourable Hannah Beasley, MLA, and marked the first time that the awards received the spotlight as a standalone event. The annual Local Government Honours Program recognises and celebrates the outstanding achievements and lasting contributions made by elected members and employees of their respective councils, the local government sector, Walga and the wider community. I'm very pleased to advise that at the awards ceremony, Mayor Mark Irwin received the Eminent Service Award, which recognised eminent service and distinguished contributions to Walga, the City of Stirling and the local government sector as a whole. I'm also absolutely thrilled to advise that Manager of Governance, Jamie Blanchard, and Abraham O'Connor, Senior Operations Officer from the Recreation and Leisure Services Business Unit, both received the Local Government Distinguished Officer Award for outstanding contributions to the local government sector by officers of member local governments or employees of Walga. On behalf of Council, I would like to congratulate and celebrate Mayor Mark Irwin, Jamie and Abraham for these very well-deserved honours.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I'd like to now just make one regarding our customer experience team win at the WA State Excellence Awards. On Friday, the 2nd of August 2024, the Customer Experience team attended the WA State Excellence Awards, a prestigious industry event that showcases the success and the achievements of local peers and networks across customer service, contact centres, customer experience and employee experience. The city's Customer Experience team was nominated across the following categories: Customer Experience Champion of the Year. Senior Customer Experience Officer Madeline Kelly was recognised for her dedication to her role and her commitment to fostering positive interactions with every customer. Madeline, can you stand up, please? We'll get you. Hey! Nice. There's your award. We'll give it back. Secondly, Customer Experience Initiative of the Year in the category of Process Transformation. The Customer Experience team was recognised for embedding a data-driven service improvement approach into the customer experience team's culture, enhancing how they gather, analyse and act on customer call data. That's that one. And 3, Customer Experience Initiative of the Year in the category of Workforce Transformation. In January 24, the City of Stirling's Customer Experience team launched a new training program to improve on the onboarding of customer experience officers. Previously, the training was queue-specific, taking at least 12 weeks, which limited the ability to manage attrition and negatively impacted employee engagement, customer experience and contact centre performance. Drawing inspiration from a university-style approach, the new program condensed training into an initial 3-week period, provided a comprehensive overview of council services rather than isolating training by specific business units. I'll ask you all to stand up while I finish off. I think this is worthy of you all getting acknowledged here, but I really am thrilled on behalf of council to acknowledge, and behalf of the community, to acknowledge the work of all of you and to announce that the Customer Experience team has won the State Award in all 3 categories and will now progress to the National Awards in November, where we all wish you the very best. Well done, team. You can take a seat. Council, I did attend a quick function Monday morning, very early, because this team is dedicated to get on those phones by 9 o'clock and answer them. So we're in here at 8 o'clock just to acknowledge them. And I did make comment on how often you all do pass on those congratulations. It is a tough job. The frontline employees of this organisation, hidden away in those back rooms, often do the thankless task of dealing with customers at sometimes a very trying time when they need assistance. We acknowledge the work you all do, and we really thank you on behalf of the community for everything you do for our organisation. Change of pace. Item 11, unresolved business from previous meetings. I have nil. And we'll now move on to reports and recommendations of committees, which is item 12. Councillors, will deal with the items from the Audit Committee first. Governance has not received any alternative recommendations. No items are required to be pulled out. Does anyone wish to pull out an Audit Committee item this evening? Councillor Ree.
I don't necessarily want to pull it out, but I'd like to make a comment, if I may, and ask a question. But beforehand, I'd like to know why everything is still confidential. According to the Office of the Auditor General, and the department, it said that all things in the Audit Committee should not be confidential. So my first question is, why are they still remaining confidential? It can be overturned by council through the presiding member if required. However, it is still a concern that this is not our money, it's other people's money. We're going to show how well we can audit. Why is everything still remain confidential, please?
Thank you. Mr Blanchard.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I thank the councillor for the question. The City makes available to the public those Audit Committee reports that the Audit Committee considers should be made available to the public. It is open to this council to make those reports available to the public that the Audit Committee considers should be dealt with confidentially. But we will continue to honour the resolutions of the Audit Committee in deciding which matters are dealt with confidentially and which matters are dealt with in open public.
So we can bring that up next Audit Committee, Councillor Ree.
Thank you. I'd like our new CEO to take that on board as well, please. With regard to 12.1A2, I'd just like to ask a question. Why is it that only one person is in charge of deciding whether or not a complaint is a complaint, a misconduct is a misconduct? That makes it that one person's personal opinion. I don't know if that, in this day and age, WorkSafe have said that's not really appropriate. So I don't know whether or not...
I don't believe that's the case, but I'll get Mr Blanchard to provide some comments.
12.1A2, if you choose to read, I'm not going to call it out, but it's in there.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To confirm, the city has an integrity panel comprising 3 people that assesses all allegations of serious misconduct by staff and elected members. So this integrity panel makes those decisions. In relation to minor breach allegations or minor code of conduct complaints, these are dealt with by the respective manager.
Mr Mayor, it actually says in the report that one person, there is an integrity panel, which is different, but there's also one person that actually looks at these things. I won't say any more, but I cannot accept, and I will not be supporting any of the audit reports tonight, because I do believe that we should be more accountable, and I don't believe that that is a good way to go in this day and age. And personally, I could make a whole lot of list of examples, but I won't.
I'm sure you personally could. So, Councillor Lagan, can I ask you to, as chair of the committee, to move the audit committee balance of reports?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I assure you that the Audit Committee, with its elected members who have been elected by the public, is very transparent, and as we all know, any items that can be dragged out of Audit Committee under FOI or other measurement tools are welcome to be dragged out, but I'm very happy with the progress of the Audit Committee and the meeting last week, and I'll move the balance of the reports.
And so you should be. And seconded, Councillor Kristovich. I'll put the balance of reports, so that's all the committee, audit committee reports to council. And that is carried with Councillor Ree voting against the audit committee's recommendations of council. Councillors, we will now deal with the items from Community and Resource Committee meeting. No items are required to be pulled out. Councillors, are there any items of Community and Resource you would like to be pulled out? Councillor Thornton, I believe you'd like to pull out one.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to pull out item 12.2 ES1, please.
Noted. Councillors, are there any other of those Community and Resource you'd like pulled out? Councillor Ree.
Thank you. May I have 12.2 CD1 on page 118, please?
118. You may. Are there any other items? Councillor Dudek.
Don't need to pull it out, but just a question on CSA1.
CS. The outcomes of the Neighbourhood Safety Initiative trial? Yes?
Yes, correct. So,
Is it
yeah,
just a... Yeah.
just briefly, thanks for everyone's work on this, especially Councillor Criado for pushing it. Just in the agenda, it makes mention towards, on page 96, that consideration of capital funding pool for solar-powered lighting, CCTV assets for permanent and semi-permanent deployment in identified hotspot locations in local parks and reserves to support crime prevention. I just want to clarify whether or not we're looking to install permanent CCTV in local parks.
But, Councillor, this could have been taken offline. This is... So, yeah. Mr Quirk.
Through you, Mr Mayor, no, look, the reference to parks and reserves is very much around our mobile CCTV unit that we do deploy quite often in hotspot areas, as we did as part of this trial at Constant Nasson Reserve. The city does not seek to provide networked permanent CCTV in our parks and reserves.
Yeah. You're happy not to pull it out?
Thank you very much. Yeah, no,
Yep.
don't need to pull it out, and it was taken offline as well.
All right. Is there any other items? If not, I will go to the first one, 12.2 ES1. Councillor Olo, as chair, you're acting, yes, chair of the committee, if you'd like to move.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to move the committee recommendation on page 84.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Ferrante. Is there anyone opposed? Yes. Councillor Thornton? Yes.
Yes,
No, that's all we need at this stage. Good. Now I'll go to you, Councillor Olo, as chair of the committee.
Thank you. This was debated at the Community Resource Committee. I reserve my right to close the debate.
Thank you. Councillor Ferrante.
Nothing from me, Mr Chair.
Good. Councillor Thornton, you're opposed.
I am opposed, Mr Mayor. I would like to move a procedural motion to defer item ES1,
Thank you. And defer it to,
defer it to the committee, Community and Resources Committee meeting on the 3rd of September for further information.
good. That's clear. That's all right. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Olo. And that's a procedural to hold it over, so I will put that to the vote. Good, and that is unanimous. Thank you. Mr Krisiak, that item is held over, so we'll get more information and council will deal with it again and you'll be notified when that is dealt with. 12.2 CD1, opportunities for the development and activation of Mount Flora Museum has been pulled out. Councillor Olo, you're chair of the committee.
I'd like to move the committee recommendation on page 118.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kristovich. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree. Councillor Olo.
Thank you. This was debated at the Community Resource Committee. I reserve my right for closed debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kristovich, second.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd just like to obviously commend the officers on putting this report together and starting a process of both planning and obviously community consultation and a lot of work that needs to go into place to try and actually make sure the Mount Flora Museum is utilised to its full capacity and that we have good outcomes for the local community and the broader community in terms of the things that are undertaken there. It's been a while since it's been looked at properly. And it's a jewel in the crown of the city of Stirling, not just the coastal ward. And I think it's important that we start that journey. And I think this is the start, setting us on the right path.
Thank you. Councillor Ree, you're opposed?
Yes, thank you. I don't think it goes far enough to, as was said, it is our jewel in the crown. It's our only museum, even though we have been battling for years to get more. There's nothing in the report about the museums and the libraries getting together, which was also challenged years ago, which was a bit disappointing. I think it would be not good, even though we're going out to consultation, I think it's important that we look at some of the questions that will be asked. A lot of people weren't happy when, and unfortunately the other report is not in here, when it was suggested that the libraries, the museum, all become coffee shops, which went against the small businesses which we're supposed to be supporting. So that was one of the questions that came up last time with the libraries, that I was asked, is this going to be a question? And I don't know, because quite often we don't see the questions before or after.
So you're opposed to this because you're worried it's going to become a coffee shop? I'm trying to work out what you're getting at, Councillor Ree.
If you give me a minute.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it's important that if we're going to go forward, and it's really important that we actually increase the usage and make it bigger than what it is, because it is a great venue and it's got a lot of land. However, it is a concern by some people who have contacted me that we don't go down the commercial path. So what I'm saying is there's nothing in here that actually says we won't go down the commercial path. There's nothing in here that doesn't say that some of the questions that we're going to go out to people. And if it's our only museum, are we going to go all out to all over the city, or is everything still going to be just about what happens in Scarborough to Scarborough people? So these are the questions I got asked of me. So what I'm saying is, while I'm not opposing it in that sense,
I'm struggling to follow you. So this is about noting all the information in that report, which is basically saying we're going to do all that. But you say some people have contacted you and say, is the Mount Flora Museum all about Scarborough people in Scarborough? I don't even see a link to the Mount Flora Museum in North Beach.
No, it's about the fact of not turning it into a commercial premises, of renting it out for coffee shops, etc. That's what their main concern is, which they raise for the libraries. And if Mrs. Barton is not here, but if she was here, she would remember the conversations that went on then, which people didn't like. Small businesses didn't like, people didn't like. They want to keep it as a proper museum. They want to keep libraries like this. That is the point they're making. That's the point I'm making. So if they can just take it on board or let us know, that would be great.
Sure.
But it wasn't sort
I
of
think-
written in here, which I thought it would have done after the library issue.
But I'm sure the intent of this was to go out and get that information and then take all those conversations and consultation on board to make those decisions. Right.
Mr Mayor, sometimes questionnaires are left and not right.
I'm not really sure where that's going. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? If not, I'll go to you, Councillor Olo, if you'd like to close debate.
Thank you. This debate's been presented on last Tuesday at the committee resource meeting. We've all discussed it in length, so I am going to keep going with the officer's recommendation for the Mount Flora meetings.
Thank you. And that is closed debate, so I will go to the vote. And that, we've just got one to go, Councillor Olo. That's right. And that is unanimous. Councillor Olo, would you like to now move the balance of reports?
No, thank you. I move the balance of reports.
Thank you. And Councillor Kristovich has seconded the balance of reports. I'll put those all to the vote. And that is unanimous. So members of the gallery, those viewers who are watching via the live stream, please note that the Community and Resource Committee recommendations now have all been adopted by exception resolution. So we'll go on to item 13, reports for consideration in accordance with section 4.24 of the meeting, procedures local law 2021. And we'll start with 13.1, the Walga Quotation Traffic Management Services. Councillor Lagan.
Mr Mayor, look, I'd like to pull the item out to speak on it. I'm happy enough with portions of it, but I have concerns with one particular part of it.
Are you happy that we stay inside council? Or
well, I don't need to name the proponents that are in the confidential item or the costing, but if I can discuss it in a general way, that would work.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'd have to go behind closed doors.
No, I'm comfortable as long as it's not talking about the confidential attachments with it. Yeah. And is there a seconder for that? Tender. Thank you, Councillor Kristovich. Is there anyone opposed? No, you just got some questions or a question, Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I had some concerns about the proponents that were listed in the recommendation. I note that they were short-term. Those concerns led me to have a closer look at one of the proponents. I am still concerned that one of the listed proponents who had favourable pricing does not have a current web page and appears to be a relatively new player in the field. My other concern was that when I contacted Walga today, Walga themselves were unaware that this proponent or this applicant did not have a visibility to the Walga webpage and to the general public. What I'm suggesting is that in the recommendations we're given 3 companies. We could approve the second and third in the recommendation, and the one that is listed in the first position, the one I have concerns with, we not deal with until we have more clarity about their stance and position. Walga themselves today also suggested that there were some issues with the competitive nature of the pricing that may lead for concerns. And I also note, even though we're dealing with this item tonight, in Saturday's West Australian, the city advertised for traffic management. I'm unsure as to why we would be dealing with this traffic management and then going out to tender on Saturday for traffic management. Maybe the officers could give some comment.
Sure, Mr. Gearvoff.
Thank you. Through the chair, without naming any companies specifically, I can confirm that all 3 companies that are listed there are on the Walga panel. I can provide you links to the company that I believe that you are concerned about to verify that they are indeed on the Walga panel.
Mr Mayor, can I just, sorry, just to interject, they are, but
Yes.
Wagga themselves now, after my phone call today, have concerns about that one company.
Mr. Guillemot?
And to continue, that company is relatively new in terms of their current structure, and because they have largely overtaken a previous company that is no longer in existence, and that's potentially why they haven't got to the stage of having that public website that you were looking for. Were there any other questions that I could assist you with?
And Councillor Lagan, I think obviously this came to council and it went away for some more information and it was answered by the officers. It was acknowledged that one of the companies was quite a new player, but it was also acknowledged that a lot of the traffic management things that happen in the city aren't necessarily Stevenson Avenue or Stevenson Highway projects. You know, they can quite often be a shutting down of the end of a road or shutting down a road with one or two people while a traffic light is put up. So
Yeah, and I get that, Mr. Mayor, and I'm aware of the length of discussion from the last meeting. My concern is to do with risk to the city. I have spoken briefly to the CEO. I'm happy to move the item without the first mentioned applicant, or I can vote against the item. I'll take your direction on that.
Well, it's up to you. You can either, you've moved that one, so you can either amend your motion, and I'll see if the seconder accepts it, and then we'll see if someone's got an alternative with all three. Or
Only amendment I would make is to recommend the applicant or proponent 2 and 3 in the list of 3, but not to recommend 1.
So happy to, it's your motion, so happy for you to do that, and it just depends if the seconder wants to do it that way. I've forgotten the seconder, Councillor Kristovich. How are you sitting?
Look, obviously, you know, there have been questions raised by Councillor Lagan. I'm not sure, again,
Just need a short answer,
Oh,
Councillor.
yes, I'm happy to accept that
Good.
change.
Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Proud?
Just a question.
Question?
The question is, can we put each of the 3 separately, please?
Why would you do that?
I don't think there's any change in the intent, so it's. I
Well,
think
it's removing one. So if elected members wanted to do the 3 as a whole, they need to be given the opportunity rather than voting against what's proposed.
Yeah, I'd rather you foreshadowed. I think it'd be better.
I'm happy to foreshadow it.
I think it's dangerous once we start separating out. I think we've got a motion. I'm happy for you to foreshadow the actual recommendation that had all 3 in it.
Yep, I'll do that.
And then, because I think the intent doesn't need to be debated here. It's Councillor Lagan's made it clear why. So just to make sure the wording's right, because it's with the exception of the first listed company. So that's the main motion. So what we'll do is we'll put that one to the vote. So if you agree with Councillor Lagan, you don't want that one. If you don't agree with it and want the recommendation with all 3, then vote against the first one, and then we'll put that one. Is everyone clear? Yep. Thank you. That motion is carried. So myself and Councillor Proud voted against. All the rest of the councillors voted for it. So the quotation for the Traffic Management Services panel is carried for those other 2 companies.
Well, you're not going to do it.
Item 13.2, annual fees for upgraded yellow and red lid bins. Councillor Dudak, that's, I believe, your turn.
What's this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to move that we defer this item. We received an updated agenda for it with updated fees at 10:31 a.m. today, and just to give us time as council to properly review the figures, I think it's best that we defer this item until the next council meeting. Unless perhaps you'd prefer the next CRC meeting, I'll take your direction on that.
Yeah, I think it may be better if it goes to CRC. It'll give you a better chance to be able to
Yeah.
discuss and debate. If you're
I
happy
think
with
that's a good idea. If we can defer this item to the next CRC meeting, which I believe is the 3rd of September from memory.
Councillor Rees seconded you. I'm guessing no one's opposed to that. That's sensible. And I'll put that to the vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We will now go, with your indulgence, councillors, I'm going to jump to Councillor Migdale's motions first. Actually, we can do this another way because her 3 are the last ones. So I will ask if I can step out of the chair and allow Deputy Mayor Migdale to chair for 14.1 to 14.3. I need to bring your microphone with you.
Bring it. Okay, let's have a look. 14.1, we're going to propose a notice of motion by Councillor Ree. That's for the sampling of water fountains. Do I have a mover of motion? Councillor Ree, moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Christosevic has seconded. Anyone opposed to this? No. For the purpose of debate, over to you, Councillor Ree.
Thank you very much. I don't know who would be opposed to it because, one, it's not costing us anything. Secondly, it is actually making sure that our ratepayers are safe across the board. Quite a few other councils are doing the same. One of the issues that has arisen is some of the pipes that have come from a certain place that mixed with our heavy mineral water are actually making the pipes degrade faster, which is actually causing heavy metals in them and other issues. So I think it's really diligent of council to do this across the board so we get an idea, and it's also as part of our funding arrangements for the analytical committee that I declare an interest that I'm on. Oh, that's where I was going to come with declare an interest that I was on, something or other. Yeah, so I think it's important that that we support this because we do have a bench line of water. So I'll just declare that I'm on the LHAAC.
If you could please fill out the form for that. Thank you. Councillor Christosevic.
Look, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer that the safety of the community is paramount, and it's great to be able to look at the quality of the water in our playgrounds and in other city facilities to make sure that our kids are drinking healthy water, and also that there are no issues there. And it may well also not just identify potential issues with the City of Stirling infrastructure, but it may also identify issues with the water quality coming from the Water Corporation as well. So I think there's a dual benefit there to try and keep tabs on what's coming through our taps and just makes it easier for us to be able to put more taps out there and assure the community that they're safe and that we're on top of it.
Thank you. Councillor Proud, you're opposed for the purpose of debate.
Simply just to listen to debate because new information may be forthcoming. Thanks.
Fair enough. Mayor Irwin.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Just a question through you to officers. And it was just because with the mover talked about the quality of the pipes, etc. Are we confident just doing one water fountain in each area, like what's your thoughts on doing an older water fountain and a newer water fountain in each area so we can see if that makes a difference?
Mr. Jenke?
Through the chair, thank you. So look, I think to get the program underway, we've got to start somewhere. I think it's a good approach to start by addressing one tap in each ward, but we're certainly open to extending that if the city requires.
Thank you. Anything further, Mayor Owen? No? No further indications? Councillor Criado?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Further to what Mayor Irwin said, I was just wondering, if you do the amount of water fountains that are proposed to be sampled at 0.03%, it's actually statistically insignificant. So if the officers could consider maybe at least increasing this to a higher percentage, it would make, I'm just worried that we might get a report back that the sample size is too small. Thank you.
Mr. Jenke, can I please seek further comment?
Through the chair, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We're open to, I think the report mentions we've got quite a significant number of water fountains. We're certainly happy to increase our sample size if that's requested.
Thank you. Any further indication, councillors? Councillor Reid, to close.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the support around the table. Whether or not we'd like to include in the motion, I was left up to the staff how many sampling sites we do. Didn't interfere in that, in the operational issues of that. It doesn't actually say in the motion how many sites will be actually sampled. So I think we still believe we should just leave it up to the staff. I think one of the reasons that the sites that are picked, that they can actually know the age of the fountain already. Some of the other ones, maybe not. And the newer ones, maybe not either. But I think we're totally just leaving it up to the staff, depending on the resources, how hard it is to do, the allocation of staff. As we said, it's not a cost factor, but it's a health factor, which I think all the community would appreciate, knowing just how good the fountains are. And also, when we get the results, we then have to think about the remedial part of it. So we have to consider that. So I think it's a good idea, and I think we should leave it up to the staff how many they actually do.
Thank you, Councillor Ree, and that closes debate. Councillors, I'll now put the item. And that item is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on now to item 14.2, proposed notice of motion. Councillor David Lagan, variable speed zone on Beaufort Street, Inglewood. Do I have a mover of a motion? Moved Councillor Lagan. Seconded Councillor Giudici. Anyone opposed? Is that good enough? Good enough? Giudici. Well, I always said Councillor Giudici and thought I was incorrect, so I changed it up a little. Councillors, is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed to this? No? I'll go ahead and put this item. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Just making sure everyone's voted there. Noting Councillor Ree has left the chamber. That is unanimous, councillors. Thank you. Now moving on to item 14.3, proposed notice of motion. Councillor Giudici. Proposed landfill and solid waste depot at 501 Alexander Drive, Mirrabooka. Councillors, do I have a mover of a motion? Moved Councillor Giudici, seconded Councillor Dudek. Is there anyone opposed to this item? No? I'll go ahead and put this item. Thank you, councillors. That is unanimous once again. Now I would like to step out of the chair and invite the Mayor back up. .
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, and particularly thanks for scribbling all over my agenda notes. I'll now go to I'll go to item 14.4, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Migdale. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I would like to move the officer's recommendation for removal of the tree, please. I would like to move the recommendation that the tree be removed, please. There you go. Relocated.
Thank you. And is there a second to that motion, Councillor Ferrante? Is there anyone opposed to the relocation of the tree? Sure. Councillor Giudice?
It's okay. It's really interesting. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, did you invite me to open debate? Oh dear. Oh dear, oversight there.
There's too many chairs in this meeting now.
I know.
No, you're welcome
We're
to
a
open
very
debate.
inclusive council. It's really challenging. We all love trees. As a council, we plant over 10,000 a year. We know this. We punch far above our weight. And in this day and age, we have to live sympathetically with trees. And every now and then, an issue will arise. In this instance, the issue is one of health and safety. It's that simple. Between the road and the emergency exit of a building is this tree. Unfortunately, it blocks the egress access, and that is why this notice of motion has been raised for no other reason. We are, especially in the Lawley ward, certainly all about planting trees. There's nothing more to this. It's of health and safety, and we must consider safety above all else.
Thank you. Councillor Ferrante?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the officer if he's had any feedback from the owner over the past few years in regards to this tree, and the officer's viewpoint on that, please.
Thanks. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Not personally, but I understand there has been a request from the Astor Theatre to remove the tree. Based on that request, obviously the egress and access was checked and it's compliant. So the conclusion made by officers, I believe in compliance and health, was that it doesn't block the access. The other point I want to make is that I heard the word that the tree should be relocated. It can't be relocated. It'll be removed but not relocated. So if that's the recommendation of council, it can occur.
Thank you. And Mr. Quirk, just in the intent of that question, the request side of it, can I ask you for comment? Because I believe you might have.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, as part of a number of issues, I have been contacted by the manager from the Astor Theatre on a number of occasions. So he certainly accepts that the location of the tree is compliant from an emergency evacuation perspective, but he's demonstrated to me in practical terms it creates a bottleneck when patrons from the Astor Theatre leave that lower level. So he's adamant that that bottleneck didn't occur before the tree was planted, but it has occurred ever since the tree was planted, hence the request that was submitted to the city.
Thank you. Councillor Giudice?
Yeah, look, I go to Astor and I've been to a number of events and I come out of that exit a number of times and I've never felt that tree impeded my egress. I mean, I suppose I'll look at the recent photo that we got today of a more recent sort of picture of what the situation, and I'd argue that some of the structures that are hanging off the Astor Theatre being, I don't know, what would it be, is like a blue sort of step up that sits to the, what would it be, the north of the door, immediately north of the door, and then equally some balustrading and some upstand of limestone again also is impeding access more so than the tree, which is some 3 metres away, I would suggest. You know, how far do we draw the line? Maybe we get rid of the sign that's also adjacent to the tree. As I say, we should take the judgment of the officers. The officers have suggested there's no impediment. Personally, I don't see that tree impeding egress either, having utilised that exit a number of times. I would respectfully ask that, we seek this notice of motion to be passed over. Thank you.
Councillor Ree, you're next. Then I've got you, Councillor Dudek.
It's very interesting. I've been there a number of times, and I'm afraid I'll have to agree. I don't remember seeing the tree, but as an issue. But I do agree with the fact that, having brought this to my attention, it is a safety issue, so that does concern me. I'd like to know, it's only 4 years old, this tree. 4 years? Yes. I thought it said 4.
It's
my
fairly new.
apologies if it's only 4 or 2, that it should be able to be transplanted at that age. So I'm a bit concerned why it couldn't. Secondly, we definitely did plant the tree. So did we know when we were planting the tree we were planting it in front of a safety door?
Thanks, oh, look, I can answer that, and I think it's been acknowledged from everyone, including the mover, that it's not technically a safety issue, but it is an impediment on people egressing from the theatre. So it's not about a safety issue. That's why it would have been planted there. But it's been acknowledged now that by the owner and by the deputy of the mover that it is in the way.
Oh, well, I was also going to ask about the amount of times trucks, etc., have hit that corner, and the Astor people have been negotiating with the city for years to fix the corner so they don't get hit or anything. Where is that at? Because I would have thought it would be weird to plant a tree when we've already got other issues on that corner. So is that all settled?
I think that can be taken offline. That's completely irrelevant, the intersection compared to this tree, Councillor Ree.
My point about saying them together is that they're still a, if you like, a road safety issue in the same area. That tree will get bigger.
Yeah, but this is not, there's no suggestion the
left
tree
there.
is a road safety issue,
No,
and it's not linked to the intersection. It's far enough away from the intersection. There's nothing to do with the intersection you're talking about.
I'm saying if it gets a lot bigger, the branches could fall on the tree, on the road. So, I mean, the trees get bigger and at small intersections with very little verges, it does become a bigger issue. So I think what's going on with the roof, what's going on around the place should have all been taken into consideration. And I'm quite happy to, and as long as the owners are quite happy, which I believe they are, I'm quite happy to support the motion.
Councillor Dudek?
Yes, thank you. I was just going to make a brief point because I was at the Astor Theatre Halloween last year to see my favourite band, Bright Eyes, and there was actually an issue with emergency access, and a patron had passed out. It took about 40 minutes from when you could see the ambulance lights outside that door to when they'd come in and taken the patient away. I'm just wondering if the request from the owner of the Astor came directly after that, or if there was any issues regarding that emergency event that were brought up in relation to this tree.
I'll go to officers. I don't know if any officers have. Mr. Murphy has no knowledge. Mr.
Yeah,
Quirk,
Chair, no knowledge of that at all.
Mr. Quirk. No, sorry, Councillor Dudek. I don't think we can answer that.
That's fine. Just wanted to ask. I'm not sure if there was an issue, but potentially something blocking the emergency access, and it's been brought up by Councillor McDale here, or Deputy Mayor, and I will be supporting her motion as well.
Thank you, Councillor Papard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. There's not a requirement for us with the removal of this tree to plant like 5 trees elsewhere, no?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But it's certainly acknowledged if there's somewhere that can be another tree can be planted to replace it, it can be done. Yeah. Councillor Kristovich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think we're all always very reluctant to remove trees, and I know that as councillors we're always very conscious of that decision to make sure that we're making it for the right reasons and that it's going to deliver great outcomes. Now, in this particular case, this is an exit. There's a lot of people that go to the Astor Theatre, and in the case of an emergency, people have to come out of there quite quickly. And as much as it may not be an obstacle in the general sense of health and safety under normal rules, I think when people are rushing out en masse, you want to have as few obstacles as possible in front of them as they're filing out of that particular exit. So not only should that tree be removed, but I think that sign post should probably be put in a more strategic location just in case, although that's probably less of an issue, but having 2 obstacles as opposed to just a signpost, I think could under emergency conditions create a problem, and I think it's best to be safe. And also in future, when we do plant trees, we should probably try and keep them away from major exits where large numbers of people could be coming out, in an uncontrolled fashion.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we've just got to be a little bit careful with what we're talking about here, because if it was about people bumping into a tree when they're coming out as an obstacle, they'd be bumping onto the road if it wasn't there. So it's not about that. It is about the congregation of people. That's Councillor Hatton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it is about the congregation, and the Astor Theatre, I believe, has been there for about 100 years and more. It's had a number of refurbishments. It's not going to go away. It's a well-established, unique, iconic, and very rare theatre. I think it holds up to about 900.
All very relevant to the tree, Councillor
It is relevant to the tree because it holds up to about 900 people. Now, if there needs to, well, at all times, people need clear access. 900 is a lot of people. In a building like this, when we have hundreds of people, we've got heaps of exits and places to go. But right there, when I see that picture and when I drive by, I see it is problematic. I think it's problematic. That tree is just going to grow. But am I right in saying that there's about 900 plus people who can be seated at the Astor Theatre? Because if there is, then that is a very, very limited space for getting out of a building. Very limited. So I don't think that tree should be there. It probably does have 3 different exits.
From memory, 976, Councillor Hatton.
From memory.
But I believe there's some other exits. There's probably other exits as well.
So as
I'm
other
sure there are other
councillors
exits.
have said, I think that trees outdo everything, but safety just outdoes the trees in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will go to the Deputy Mayor before anyone else indicates to close this debate.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just very quickly, I concur wholeheartedly with the debate of councillors this evening, and particularly with what Councillor Christicevic has stated, in a sense that that pole should certainly, if possible, be moved as well, the street sign. The other thing...
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, although I was missed out on
understand
the
what you're
list
going to say.
Oh, sorry.
Officers are aware of the sign.
And Councillor Ferrante has certainly made his opinions clear on the sign.
Clearly not.
Sorry. Oh, I think I pulled in a muscle. Being serious.
I apologise to those viewers at home.
Sorry.
Councillor Meader.
The other point I was going to make is that it is an unfortunate positioning of the tree and the signpost, in a sense that that is exactly where the roadies' trucks park to unload and load their musical equipment as well. So that is another situation. But above all else, this is my only concern in addressing this and raising this before you all is OC health and safety. In this world that we live in, it's a bit of an anything goes show. One never knows what to expect. So we must keep egress access wide open. There should be nothing in the way to impede large volumes of people going wherever they need to go. Happy to take 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 trees for the Lawley ward, but unfortunately we need to deal with this one tonight.
I'll put that to the vote, councillors. Thank you, and that motion is carried. 4 councillors, Corrado, Dudek, Ferrante, Hatton, Christovich, Migdal, Olo, Papard, Proud-Ree, Thornton and myself, and against councillors Judici, Lagan and Perkoff. That is carried. And I'll go to 14.5, proposed notice of motion. Deputy Mayor on the Hamer Dog Park.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This one is... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just need to know what motion, councillor. What motion would you like to move?
That a report be presented to council to consider options to modify or expand the dog park at Hamer Park, Mount Lawley, to cater specifically for small dogs and also the increased use of the park.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ferrante, thank you. Anyone opposed? Just a quick question, yes?
Does it need to go to council or does it need to go to community resource, and what's the definition of a small dog?
Thank you. I'm happy that It'll be presented to council either through the committee process, that's fine. Yeah.
Can I please include a date in this by which it's presented to council to consider?
What date would you like?
End of November.
By end of November. I'm pretty sure in the report it talks about coming to a community resource. Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, after consulting with the
It would only
groups.
take a couple of
And
days.
all of the information about small dogs and big dogs and all that will be in the report.
Will be in the report.
So there's no one opposed, so I'll put this to the vote. And we're just waiting for Councillor Lagan. That's all right. That's unanimous, thanks. Item 14.6, Councillor Migdale, hydro zoning,
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
eco zoning, whatever
Hydro
the term is.
zoning.
Your motion?
Just finding my motion that a report on hydro zoning or mulching of city parks be presented to council by November 2024 to outline the reasoning behind this practice and identify ways council can ensure that expectations of residents in relation to public open space align with the city's processes.
Thanks. And seconded by Councillor Giudice. And is there anyone opposed to this one? A question, Councillor Ree?
I believe when we looked at a park in Doubleview, we were informed at the time that there's already the hydrozone program through the city.
Yes. That's exactly why this report has come. It's because of those hydro zoning and eco zonings that are happening. 2012. Yep. It's been going for a while. Can I ask a question to the officers? And given the intent of this report, what is going to be the practice until November in terms of hydro zoning or eco zoning in the city? Is there many programs that will happen before then?
Through you, Chair. There are some projects ongoing, but we can put them on hold pending the report. The other thing I'd say is that we are going back over some of the old projects and planting them up, which I think is in line with what council are seeking through this report. So there is some retrospective work on existing hydrozone areas, but yeah, we can.
And I'm happy with that because I think the intent of it, that probably works in the favour of the report in the sense that it gives officers a chance to show that retrospective work and it doesn't create any more new ones until then.
Mr Mayor, I would like to amend the wording, if I am allowed to incorporate the intent to have tools down.
I'm happy. I don't think we need to. I think that we've had the director give that intent. I think we can take the
You're
word for it.
comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with that.
Because that's certainly
Is that a
my
question,
intention.
Councillor Krisic? Yep.
Yeah, just a question about hydro zoning. Obviously, in the coastal ward, there's a fair bit of this mulching going on, and I know that places like Apex...
Councillor, this is for a report to come back, so it's a question about...
Okay, the question is, there are a number of locations around the city where the slant and the slope of the land terrain is quite steep, and we've hydro-zoned a lot of those sort of
Thanks,
areas.
Councillor. I think you're jumping the gun. So take a seat. There's no discussion on this tonight. The motion is that a report on that come back to council.
Yeah, sorry, Mr Mayor.
And that's a good time to discuss all of those issues with it.
Just a point of clarification, but this is just going to tell us why we're hydro-zoning. There are areas of concern where we have already hydro-zoned that need to be dealt with as a matter of priority.
I think the officers are very aware of the intent of this report and they're aware of that. So, and they'll invite, if any councillors have some feedback on what they'd like included, they're happy to take it.
Okay, as long as...
But I think that will all be discussed then. So I'll put this motion and we'll wait for that report to come. Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 15, notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting. Councillors, do you have any notice of motion for the next meeting? None, no indication tonight. Certainly feel free before the next meeting to put a few up for the deputy to deal with. Councillor Hatton, you have one?
As of now, I do, but I haven't.
These are my favourite, the ones that are done on the fly.
Yeah, it probably can wait. Would you prefer it to wait and I'll go through the officers first?
You've got time, so I would suggest maybe put it in writing and then it will still form part of the agenda, but it will be thought out.
Yep, that's right. That's fine.
Item 16, questions by members of which due notice has been given. Councillors, I have nil. 17, new business, I have nil. And 18, matters behind closed doors, I have nil. Brings us to item 19, closure of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 7:39 p.m. Thank you everyone for your attendance.